You are listening to the Game Like Training podcast, where we talk about golf practice, golf learning, golf psychology, the PGA Tour, college golf, and basically all things golf. On this show, we try to bring on top quality coaches, industry professionals, and leaders in not only the golf coaching world, but in the academic world too, because there's always a thing or two we can learn from a scientist's perspective. Hey, I'm your host, Matthew Cook.
And I'm your co-host, Eric Zeigel. Excited for today's topic, Maddie. This is something that both of us coming from the junior academy world, we've spent a lot of time with people in the college placement side of the business. None better than Mike, who's joining us today. Mike, how are you, man?
I'm doing really well, guys. What's going on up in North Georgia?
Thanks for joining us, buddy. Appreciate your time and energy on the show.
Well, of course. I'm happy to be here.
We have today, like Eric said, a really cool guest, Mike Smith. He's the founder of Forecollege Golf. We'll be sure to put that in the description and link it up here somewhere to Mike's website. Mike has been in this space for, well, you know what? I won't even do any more introductions and try to describe you, Mike. Just tell us about yourself, how long you've been in the space, what you do, and how you do it, and then we'll get started.
So, kind of ran into Forecollege Golf by happenstance. And, I compare it to the way I found where I went to college in James Madison University in a similar light. I got very, very lucky to find JMU, and we can jump into that later. But I've been running Forecollege Golf for about 4.5 years now. I started with a golf academy here in Ponte Vedra, and actually started with traveling juniors around the country. I had, pretty much 4 or 5 guys at any given time, traveling them around to different events. And, it just so happened one of my first students, one of my first clients, his parents came to me one day and said, "Hey, can you help us find a college? You were just there. You did the entire process. You might not have that much expertise, which I didn't at the time, but can you help us?" And it's all history from there. Now I got a full slate of guys from all over the world. I love what I do. I feel like I'm still the luckiest guy on earth to do what I do. I work from home. I live a quarter mile from the beach, and I get to travel whenever I want all over the world. So absolutely love what I do. But in a nutshell, I'm in the relationship business. I work one-on-one individually with the family and the player. And we try to find them college golf scholarships and try to find them a home where they're going to be successful and happy at the end of the day.
Nice. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, love it.
Nah, I love it, Mike. That's awesome. So we'll dive straight in. You recently wrote an article and we published it on the website. If anyone had the chance to read it, I think it's really good. A great start to this series of articles that you're going to be putting out there for people. But I'm going to ask you the question: how to plan for college golf? What are your sort of important steps for planning college golf?
Sure, I think it's a loaded question for sure, but it's also a question I have to answer in many different realms on a daily basis. So it's hard to answer it as a blanket statement, but I'll do this. I think everyone has to be realistic. That's the starting ground, right? I've come across probably too many junior golfers and too many junior golf families where the only goal, and I think the only dream, is to play a Division I sport. And with me, it's Division I golf. And what I've learned, I think, over the years is that there's so much opportunity out there, one, and two, that it's actually more competitive than people think. So, part of my job is helping players and helping families become more realistic, but also helping them realize, wow, Division I is great, and they are, the biggest NCAA division, and they have the best institutions with the most budget money, and they travel to the nicest places. But at the end of the day, there's great opportunity outside of Division I. For example, right, a couple of weeks ago, I was up visiting you guys. Eric, I know you weren't there, but I took a visit over to Emory and met with Coach Soberg over on the other side of town, and really, really opened my eyes more than they already had been open to how good these players are, even at the Division III level. And no disrespect and no offense to anyone in Division III, but for a long, long time, even myself, I didn't think that these guys could compete at the highest level. Now Emory is one of the best programs in Division III, but without a doubt, hands down, they are a Division I program playing at the Division III level. So
Yeah, for sure.
That's first and foremost is being open to other opportunities, but also having your expectations in check and realizing how competitive it is out there.
So building on that point, that's never an easy conversation to have with somebody, right? When you have to kind of let them know, hey, look, Stanford might not be within grasp. So
if you're not shooting 65 or 66 on the regular, you're going to struggle.
How have you, I guess, over the years kind of found ways to have that conversation with parents, with students, to manage those expectations or to better set kind of the tone or set the expectations? And is it different when you're speaking to a student than when you're speaking to a parent? Like, what do you think would be some strategies to help people set those expectations?
Yeah, great question. A few ways. Early on, to answer your second question there, early on, it's hard before I really get to know the student. I mean, I'm in the relationship business on the player and family side and on the coach's side. I always say that. So before I really develop those strong relationships, I mean, half the time I'm on Skype calls like this, podcasts, I'm on, Zoom webinars, other methods of communication with some of my clients from all over the world. I really want to get to know them before I can even make a distinction on where they might fit. Now, if the only dream and the only goal is to go Division I and play at a Power 5 school like Stanford, which not only is hard to get into, and there are only so many chairs or so many seats, as I say, athletically, it's hard to get through the door there, really hard to get through the door there academically.
Yeah.
So first is really, getting to know them and figuring out not only, their ability level and their academic level, but their personality and where they fit. Secondly, I use resources like Junior Golf Scoreboard, the current rankings. I also bring up typically in front of my clients, we talk about the current rankings. This is typically where, you're ranked right now, and this is typically where you'll end up. The process is very true to itself, but at the end of the day, there is a reason I'm employed and there is a reason I have a job, and I realize that. Right. So it's not just based off the facts and the numbers of ranking or even GPA or standardized test scores. It's much, much more than that. And we can break that down in a further podcast. I'd love to do that. Okay. But what I have now is a list of past signees from Junior Golf Scoreboard. Really lucky to have resources like this to save me a lot of time. So I'm self-employed. I'm a one-man show, as many of you guys know, and many of my competitors in the consulting industry are. But they actually put out what they call a signees list at the end of every year after the early signing, which is coming up in a few weeks here on November 14th. That's a 1-week period. And then the regular signing for golf, which starts in April and actually goes all the way through the end of July into the first week of August. But we look at that from past years, we evaluate, okay, this coach from this particular school has recruited players like this in the past at this ability level from this region. And we make our determinations and we make our college list based off, the information that we already have. So I think that's a great way to do it, but that's also secondary to the intangible factors, right? Like, would this person, not just this student athlete, but will this human being be happy in this culture, in that environment?
Love it.
Nice. That reminds me of something that Eric does. You talk a lot about the person and the family and the relationship and getting to know the person, and there's a thing that Eric does with students. He did it only a few weeks back with a girl that we work with at the academy, and you call it a critical pathway, don't you? Is that what you call it?
Yeah, I get that from working with Stuart Morgan.
Yeah.
Critical pathway.
And he basically sits down with a golfer and tries to encourage the parents to be there to do some of the things that you were just talking about, Mike. I think, you know what? Based on what you just said, they could be more. We could even improve that process by maybe leveraging some of the resources that Mike has, or some of the input that Mike has. And we sort of lay out this. Okay, this is where we're at now, and what are your goals? What are your dreams? What are your aspirations? And then if it is like in most cases, they all say D1 golf, usually all the time. Then Eric pulls up, a combination of both their expectations and stats and facts on what it takes to go to some of these places, and then some of the players that are playing at this D1 college that you want to go to, where they were at your age, and then sort of some of the milestones that they reached throughout their time from your age to going and playing D1 golf. So I think the critical, we should probably share some information on that critical pathway. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, because I think that's really in line with what Mike talks about. Yeah. So, Mike, you sort of outlined, you did a pretty good job of outlining how to plan for college golf, and it's basically be realistic to begin with. Yeah? Would you agree?
Absolutely. I think the joke that I tell other people in my industry, college coaches, and anyone that wants to hear about my businesses, there's two things I look out for, and one of them's crazy parents, and the other one's kids or families with expectations that are too high.
Yeah.
And at the beginning stages of it, it all goes back to your knowledge base and what you really know about what you're getting yourself into, and that's college athletics. And Division I is the thing that I hear every single day. I got an email this morning. We had Division I hopes, but he hasn't been playing as well as we thought he would. That's the norm, and I expect that almost nowadays.
Yeah.
But once they become educated, and that's the job of myself and coaches like you guys as well on the golf side and the training side of things, is to help them realize, look, you might not be at the level where you think you're going to go, but there's great opportunity elsewhere, and that doesn't mean you don't have to work hard. That doesn't mean that you're not worth anything. You can amount to something. You just have to look elsewhere a lot of the time.
Yeah, and I think so many people too get kind of caught up in this idea that the school I commit to is the school I have to stay at. Like whether it even means going to a JUCO for a year or two. Like if you're somebody that's struggling with academics, like there are routes you can take to get to Division I.
Yeah, like actually, just recently, the NCAA made the transfer process much easier. They used, I think it was July 1st, I believe, 2018. Before you had to actually go to your coach or your athletic director and get a permission to contact.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah, and now you actually can trigger that process yourself.
Right.
And there's a list of players looking for transfers, and it's streamlined it a bit, and I think it's a great move by the NCAA.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. You're never stuck. I think anywhere in life, right? That's the message. Not to get philosophical here, not to get deep, but
here he goes.
That's truly the message, right? If we ever feel stuck, we're probably not going to be as motivated. We're probably not going to be as determined, and we're going to look at it like, I can't climb Mount Everest. Why should I even try?
Yeah.
So that's the message of life, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's true for the game of golf and true for college athletics too.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hey, this is probably a dummy question.
No such thing
for us, because this is. I don't know how many times you get asked this, but I'm going to ask it just because I think there might be some people still unsure of the difference. What are the differences, or a few of the differences between D1 and D2?
Men's and women's?
Let's go. Well, yeah, both. Let's do both. I just know that there's going to be some people that don't truly understand the differences. And just highlighting some of them differences might make them think differently about it.
Sure, and I would be remiss if we didn't include Division III, the NAIA,
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
let's
Do 'em
throw
all.
out a few bullet points about what are differences between them.
sure, and the junior college level even. I think from the get go, the top 10 teams in Division One, the top 10 teams in Division Two, there's very little difference. I think you're going to see a big difference in facilities. You're going to see a decent difference in the golf courses that they play potentially. You're going to see a difference maybe in the budget that they have to travel. Division Two teams aren't hopping on private jets every single day,
Right.
whereas your Stanfords, your Alabamas, your Auburns are.
Yeah.
But there's a couple ways to break this down. Do you mean from a junior golfer's perspective, looking at schools, or do you mean from when we get there?
No, looking at. Well, I think that would be a good podcast in itself, talking about, all right, you're in college golf. You are a college golfer. What now? I think that's a whole different realm. Let's talk about the prior.
I think the biggest in my business, what I try to portray is the biggest thing is realizing your potential to get better, so to develop as a player, and your potential to have success and not only play, because a lot of players, if they want to play Division One and they're borderline Division One, sure, if they find a scholarship and coach wants to take a chance on them, we can make it work. And many times, there are those players that are okay with sitting and being the bench warmer, if you will, at schools like that. But I don't like to, and I typically don't take that route with my guys. But getting back to the initial question, what's the difference? I think looking at the schools, you're going to see a big difference. Stepping on campus, seeing the facilities. Typically, all the Power 5 conferences have nice, incredibly sufficient weight rooms, academic help. But also at the same time, I'm kind of cringing here because there's a lot of great schools in Division Two that have the same, but they're not going to be as large scale, if you will. And it's kind of a tier down effect after that to Division Three, which is a little bit more academic heavy, and then you have NAIA and the junior college level as well, which I think, depending on the player, there's great options at every level for everyone. It's just a matter of having that knowledge and understanding where you fit.
Yeah, so to that point, do you have any strategies for people, for the listeners, that they could kind of go or take away as far as how do they decide what they want? Like, do you have any kind of activities that they can do? Because I know that's a conversation that we always have. Somebody that says, I want to play D1 golf, and is it, well, are you more interested in academics? Are you more interested in playing? Are you okay with going to a school and being the worst player on the team potentially and having to kind of be challenged and pushed by the rest of the players on that team? Or do you want to go to another Division I program where you'd walk in and be the number one player and you'd play every event? Right?
Sure.
So, like, how do people kind of get to that point?
Yeah, that decision has to be made first.
Right.
Because if that decision is not made, then it's really hard to move forward. And I think a lot of confusion then, is instilled.
Because there are so many schools out there. Like you said, there's a school for everybody. So
there's over 1,100 that offer men's college golf.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the women's number because I work typically exclusively on the men's side of things.
Yeah.
But over 1,100.
Yeah.
And, if I were to ask half the junior golfers that come to me or the families that email me, I bet they can only name 15 or 20.
Yeah.
And that, I understand that and I'm okay with that, but it's also scary because, from the research perspective, kind of what we're uncovering here, you asked, what can you do to learn more and really understand where you fit? I think it's two-part. You can do a lot behind the scenes. You can do a lot from the comfort of your own home. Websites like niche.com. I don't know how to pronounce it. You're gonna have to help me out there.
We'll link it.
You can learn everything from what it takes to get in. You can compare your GPA and your standardized test scores.
And that was niche?
Niche.com.
Niche.com. Okay, one of those.
Do you know how to spell it at least?
NICHE.
All right. Okay. We'll find it.
I'm a bad speller too, Matt, so we don't know.
Oh, God. We're both screwed then. That's why we have writers here.
Yeah, literally using resources like that, I tell guys to go in, look at all the facts, look at all the numbers, right? And then kind of an interesting thing that I tell my guys to do is go and read. They have a review section among the 5 or 6 sections that they have on niche. And there's a review section. I say, don't read the great reviews. Don't read, everything that's unicorns and rainbows about the school. Go down to the terrible reviews and see what people are struggling with.
Yeah.
And if those are something that you feel like you might struggle with, then maybe that's not the school for you. So, and a lot of times what I do with my players is we start with a very broad net, if you will, a broad reach of schools, and we narrow that list down.
Okay.
Whereas the opposite would be, oh, that's my dream school, that's my dream school, that's my dream school. Let's just reach out to them and be in a holding pattern until the coach makes up his mind.
I feel like that's the more common.
It's much more common, and to me, it's much scarier because I think you have so much more risk there. If
you're painting yourself in a corner.
If your dream and your desire is truly just to play at the college level and be competitive and have a great experience playing college golf, you have to cast that wider net, if you will, and you have to go explore and you have to learn. So using niche, I tell my guys to get on Google Earth and literally take that little yellow man in the right corner, plop it on campus, and start to look around. There's a lot of campuses that have virtual tours on Google or on their admissions websites. Check those out. See if that school, it's one thing to check it out online. And then I think the second part of this equation would be to get your butt there, jump in the car or get on a plane if you have to, and go and hit 5 or 6 birds with one stone. Go visit a few campuses. It's funny. A lot of the players that I get, if they have an older brother or sister, they tend to be much more knowledgeable.
Yeah.
Whereas if they're the first child or only child, they really don't know what to expect out of a campus. And I call it college preferences, right? What are your preferences for that school? And I have a worksheet of over 50 of them that we can consider. So it's not just one thing or the other, but stepping foot on campus, I tend to say it's much, much better, and I really will stick with this, but it's much better to see a campus during the regular hustle and bustle of, class hours, if you will, not during summer or Christmas break. If you have to, that's fine. I think it's better to step foot on campus at all than not to see it. But to step foot on campus, meet with a coach, even better, or see school while it's in session is huge, because then you can really get a feel for what it's like and what that might look like for the next 4 years of your experience there.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So expectations.
Yeah, so I think we can wrap it up with expectations and
do your homework.
Do your homework, yeah. Expectations, do your homework. It's not all about D1.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sweet, man.
Yeah, I think
The majority of the battle right there.
Yeah, they just have to look in the mirror. I think once they've, whether they've done it with somebody like yourself or with their coach or whoever it might be, I think once the expectations have kind of been laid that foundation and they have a slightly better understanding of really what to expect, then I think it's then on them to kind of have this idea of exactly what they're looking for within that fits within, those expectations, and they can kind of create that list from there. Cool.
Without a doubt.
All right, man. Well, again, appreciate your time and energy coming on. This has been great. Do you want to just let anybody and everybody know where they can get a hold of you if they want? We'll link up your email address and your website, but I'm sure you're on some social platforms as well.
Sure. Email is mike.smith@forecollegegolf.com, and that's FORE collegegolf.com. All my social media is also Forecollege Golf: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everything out there. And best thing to do is, if you have any questions or any concerns about where you're at in the process, just shoot me an email or grab my number off the contact page on my site and give me a call.
Yeah. Sweet. All right. Well, this is great. I'm excited. This is going to be a fun one to launch.
There's going to be a few coming off the back end of this.
Oh, yeah. There's a bunch we can talk about. So to keep up to date with us, you can go to our website and subscribe, gltgolf.com. /podcast radio show. You'll see up in the top right corner that there's a subscribe button. Click there, give us your name and your email address, and that's it. You can go and follow us on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and obviously you're seeing this video, we're recording it both on SoundCloud and for YouTube, so you can go and subscribe and check it all out there. But thanks again. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.